Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 6 and Around the World Low Cost Challenge, where I'm attempting to recreate real world flights in Prepared 3D version 4.5 in this challenge, flying all the way around the world from London Luton and back to London Luton, using airlines that are low cost only. To make this a real challenge, this series will only be flying the same airline once, and I'm using the airline's schedule published in January 2022 for, of course, June 2022, and as a result, the virtual time and date that I've set for this flight departing Singapore's Changi International Airport is 9:45 AM on the 4th of June 2022. However, because I recorded this flight in early February 2022, I'm using real world weather from a year earlier in active sky. Anyway, back to today's flight. We're on board the fantastic Qualitywings 787-9, which of course is my favourite virtual aircraft in Prepared, and we're flying Scoot, which is Singapore Airlines low cost arm, from here in Singapore down to Sydney. This will be the first of 3 wide-bodied long-haul flights that I take in this round-the-world low-cost challenge. The first 2 in Dreamliners and the last on board an Airbus A330. Over in Simbury for planning a departure here in Singapore on runway 20 centre, with several left-hand turns shortly after takeoff, routing in a southeasterly direction overhead Indonesia, arriving overhead the Australian coastline in northwest Australia, before crossing the world's largest island towards South Australia, Victoria, and finally New South Wales, where we will be making a nighttime approach into Sydney, so don't expect to see any scenery on the approach to Australia's busiest airport. Remember that it may be summer in the northern hemisphere where we will start and end this low-cost challenge, but in Australia it is approaching mid-winter. And boy, that made for a bleak approach. Anyway, all of that to come, so for now let's jump into the front left seat and get this gorgeous Qualitywings 787-9 en route down to Sydney, Australia.
Pre-flight checklist.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this flight. Must be securely stowed either under the seat in front of you or in an overhead bin.
Clear 12 heavy is cleared Sydney Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain altitude 6,000. Departure frequency is 120.3 squawk 5661.
Prepare doors for departure, cross-check, and verify straps.
Locking gear. Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Okay, starting engine.
Clear to start engines.
Headburns are lower and footburns are medium.
Set parking brakes.
Maintain Delta 120.3 squawk 0421.
Fly runway heading, climb and maintain altitude.
Unlocking gear.
725. Singapore clearance delivery.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Nora. Delta 284 is cleared Nora Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain. Heavy, taxi hall, wait for runway 20 center, via taxiway Lima Niner, Echo Papa, Lima Niner, contact tower on 118.61 ready.
As you already know, we're using the Imaginesim scenery here at Singapore Changi International Airport in Prepared 3D version 4.5. As I said at the end of the previous video, this scenery for Singapore Changi isn't bad, but I have noticed more than a few bugs while using GSX Level 2. However, let's be clear, you don't get a lot of choice in Prepared 3D version 4 and above if you want to fly with decent scenery in Singapore. And give Imaginesim their due, their scenery is pretty good because it doesn't just include the airport but also the surrounding city.
Contact Singapore departure on 120 decimal. Air 659er. Contact Singapore departure 120 decimal tree wagon 659. Singapore Tower, 6 north, inbound IL. Singapore Tower, continue approach, runway 25. Clear for takeoff, runway 20, center.
Approaching 20, center. On runway 20, center.
Press set.
KLM 835, contact ground on 121 decimal 725.
Check.
Overhead 121 decimal 725. KLM 835, thanks, bye-bye. Singapore Tower, Gilcat 284 at runway 20, center, ready for departure.
Rotate.
Land to Nora, Gilcat 284, line up and wait, runway 20, center. Line up and wait, Gilcat 284.
Positive rate. Gear up. Autopilot on. Autopilot in command. Flaps 1.
Critter 1-2.
Flaps
1-2 heavy. Singapore departure, roger. Altitude 6,000. Strutter 1-2 heavy. Gilcat 284 is climbing to 4,000. Gilcat 284. Gilcat 153. Singapore control, roger. Altitude 200. Singapore control. Gilcat 284 is climbing to 8.
Those of you who have followed the channel for a while know that the Qualitywings 787 Dreamliner is my favourite aircraft to fly from my virtual hangar. The Dreamliner is an incredibly forgiving aircraft to fly. For me in the sim, it provides the best of both worlds. The charm of stick flying from Boeing with all of the fantastic automation that's also provided by Airbus. And as a result, I think the guys at Qualitywings have done a fantastic job with their representation in prepared 3D version 4.5 of this awesome aircraft from Boeing. And for me, that meant sitting back and enjoying the 7.5-hour flight from Singapore down to Sydney, Australia, while simply monitoring the systems and watching the gorgeous scenery pass below us. We were still some distance from the Australian coastline, however we were talking to Brisbane Control when we asked to climb to flight level 390, and at approximately halfway through the flight we did pass over the Western Australian coastline, which sadly was shrouded in clouds. And while we were over the red desert landscape of Western Australia, our central fuel tank was starting to run dry. And just like I've demonstrated previously on the PMDG 737, it's a very simple job in the Boeing just to switch off the pumps to the centre tanks. While flying at night, there's really not a lot to say. So we pick up this flight on our initial descent towards Sydney, where we're going to be vectored to land on runway 34 left. Just as a reminder, the virtual clock is set to June, so it is now winter in Australia. So you guessed it, it was absolutely pissing it down in Sydney when we arrived on this flight. The cloud base was extremely low before even factoring in the fact that it was pitch black outside. So I'm afraid, guys, you're going to see very little of FlyTampa's Sydney Kingsford Smith International Airport on arrival.
12 heavy, you are 6-7 miles southwest. Turn right heading 105, expect vector, ILS, runway 34 left approach. Turn right heading 105, expect vectors, ILS, runway 34 left approach, strutter 12 heavy. Over 2124.55, strutter 12 heavy, thanks, bye-bye. Sydney Tower, strutter 12 heavy, history 0 miles. Strutter 12 heavy, Sydney Tower, continue, runway 34 left, altimeter 298 degree.
Position. Ensure all portable electronic devices are turned off and stow all carry-on items. Additionally, footrest and video monitors must be returned to their original position.
Approaching minimums. Minimums. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
For the next few minutes, so please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the captain turns off the fasten seatbelt sign. At that time, please remember to check around your seating area, in the seat pockets, and overhead bins for all personal belongings that you brought on board. Please take care when opening the overhead bins, as the contents may have shifted during flight.
Well guys, welcome to a very wet and dark Sydney, Australia. Did promise there was going to be very little to show you on that approach into runway 34 left here at Kingsford Smith International Airport. FlyTampa have done a really good job for the scenery in Sydney. It's just such a shame you're not going to see it in this episode. However, in the next episode, I do believe we're going to be departing Sydney in daylight hours, back on board the Qualitywings Dreamliner, in the livery of another low-cost airline of course. And it's in the next episode that we start to head north again, because Sydney represents the halfway point in this round the world low cost challenge. So you know what to do if you want to continue to follow the next 6 episodes as we make our way back to London Luton. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive notifications when the next video is published on the channel. So as I approach the gate area at the international terminal here at Sydney, it's time to thank you very much for watching another episode here on Sim Sunday, and wherever you're flying in your virtual world, don't forget to fly safe.